guys, in today's video we're going to be going and having a look at the final figure from the Hasbro Marvel Legends Man-Thing wave as we have a look today at Netflix Daredevil. So of course this Daredevil is depicted from the Netflix Daredevil series, which first debuted in April 2015. However, if we want to go a little further back to the very first appearance of Daredevil in comics, then we would want to go back to Daredevil #1, which debuted in April 1964. Let's go ahead and get some measurements going for Daredevil. He stands, much like many of the other figures from this wave, at around 6.5 inches tall. Just before we have a look at his accessories, though, we'll look at the Build-A-Figure component for Man-Thing, and this includes the very crucial head, the head of Man-Thing, which looks quite good. And of course, we take that and add it to a body that we've been putting together over the next or last series of reviews. We'll just go ahead and apply the head, plugging that into place, making sure it's all nice and secure. And there we have a finished Man-Thing, which I think looks quite good. There he is right there. We'll do obviously a more in-depth review of him in the next video. But I gotta say, he's looking pretty sharp. Pretty sharp! Okay, so let's have a look at the figure itself. Let's look at some of the accessories that come included with him. For starters, he comes with his billy club, which detaches into 2 halves. Generally, most, if not all, Daredevils come with this and the ability to detach them. So you can either have them displayed in his hand as one solid piece, like one solid baton, so to speak, or you can also detach them and have them as 2 separates if you want to have them displayed like that. One other option is that you can also take them and slide them into the holster of his leg, which fits very easily both of them, of course, providing that you're using the right ends. Slide them just into place like so, or again, you can just pull them out and put them in this way. Gets them a little further down if you use the thinner part of the baton or the club. It just fits very easily in place. Of course, it's going to have a very noticeable peg, so that might be a reason why you might want to switch it around the other way. The holes do technically go all the way through, but I find the more further down it goes, the more struggle it is to take them back out. I'm probably not going to be displaying the batons or billy clubs in there anyways. I'm going to be displaying them in his hand. But I do appreciate the fact that they include a little holster there for him to hold it. One of the other things that this figure does have too is a pair of closed fists. I can't entertain the idea of ever wanting to display this figure, to be honest, with closed fists, because it just doesn't make any sense to me. If I'm going to be displaying him, I'm going to be either displaying him with his weapon, or I would have preferred like a grabbing or relaxed hand or something instead as well. Go-tos for closed fists to me just never seem very exciting. They come across a little boring, and to be honest, again, I never really display the figures with that. That's just my own preference. I kind of wish that he could have come with extra hands as well. That's pretty much, in a nutshell, all the accessories and everything that comes included with the figure. So really, the only other thing we need to do now is have a look at the figure. While I will admit it's a good head sculpt, I have to say one thing that bothers me about this figure, and I'll get this right out of the way right now. I find his head is too fat. It's too big, it's too wide, it looks too bulbous. Especially from the side. From the side it looks like it's way too fat. Now I get with the new mask and the new outfit that he wears that his head does appear a little bit bigger than, of course, the just the black wrapped around blindfold that he wore before. It is a little bit bigger, but I don't think it's this big. It does really make his head look like it's very swollen. The details on the mask are pretty good, especially liking the black mesh that they put on his neck and basically all the areas where we don't have this kind of crimson red happening. Face sculpt is passable, but I do feel like it's a little on the fat side. The eyes I do appreciate are a different color, much like the mask in the show they are a different color, but I feel like they could have resonated in a slightly brighter or slightly distinct red, because this red seems like it almost blends in with the rest of his mask. Again, the lower mouth is not too bad. Maybe like a grimace or something could have gone a long way on this mask because it seems so calming, the expression that's on his face. As for his outfit goes, it's pretty good. It's a nice updated take, not only really just the figure, but it's a nice updated take on Daredevil in the series, that he would have got a costume like this, which I think it really looks cool. You know, it's hard to pass off certain characters, as we certainly have seen through movies and series and stuff like that. It's hard to take a figure's costume that may very well work well in cartoons and comics, but again, you can't really translate it 100% to a live action format without it looking a little on the cheesy side. So to take a figure that, or take a character that has primarily a red costume, can look a little cheesy, and I'm glad that they kind of went with a more tactical sort of outfit rather than what he had in the movie with Ben Affleck. Now, not to say that that was a terrible movie. I know a lot of people rip on the Ben Affleck Daredevil movie, but I didn't mind it, actually. I thought the costume was fairly cool, but I think this one definitely looks a little bit more aggressive. I especially like how they've added some texturing to the costume itself, so it's not just a smooth fabric. You can really get the idea that this is a dense material that's helping protect, Matt Murdock inside. The gloves are nicely sculpted, or at least the top portion, the gauntlet area of the forearm, is nicely sculpted there as well. There's the back of it. I like that it's got all raised elevation to it. This tells me that the company cared enough, Hasbro that is, to sculpt a brand new body as opposed to just simply painting over. Oh, that would have been terrible if they painted this on top of just an existing Marvel Legends mold. It couldn't have worked. There's no way that they could have passed that off. Some nice little silver buckles and straps here. You can see kind of how everything would have snapped itself together. Of course, you got your little holster on the side for his billy clubs. The boots are nicely done. Some laces going on there as well. He does have the gap that that Blade had, but because Blade had more of a cap that went over the front like a cuff, it was much more noticeable. Because this is a thinner looking boot, it doesn't bother me as much because it looks like it flows a little bit smoother. It doesn't look like it just abruptly stops. The undersole of the treading undersole of his boots, nicely done there as well. Of course, peg holes. I do appreciate that. Love you, peg holes. Yeah, as a whole, it's a good looking figure, except for one thing, and that's the head. The head looks, just in my own opinion, just looks a little too big, a little too fat, a little too round. If they had only just slimmed up, maybe, I don't know if the sides are too fat, but if they had just slimmed up the side, I don't think it would have been as bad. But even like his lower mouth looks like it's way too fat for the figure, or it's way too round, I think, for it to look as accurate as it should for it being taken from the series itself. Other than that, I mean, everything else about the figure is done really quite well. Coloring and sculpt and everything else all go together hand in hand, looking quite nice. It's just the figure's head is really the almost the deal breaker for me. And you should never have the head being the deal-breaking part of a figure, because that's the part that really brings you to the figure. The rest of the body could be good, but the head sculpt's off. That could be a detriment to the figure, and I feel like it's almost a detriment here to Daredevil. Let's run through his posability, though. His head is on a ball joint, which also hinges up and down. Of course, you got your upper torso crunch, your waist swivel, universal joints on the arms, so they hinge outward, as well as a full rotation all the way around. He has a swivel also in the bicep, double hinge on the elbow. He's got a rotation and hinge, so the hands themselves can hinge back and forth. Always like that. Of course, your waist swivel. And you've got a very, very flexible Daredevil here. The legs move forward and back, out. You got your swivel, but your swivel is concealed very nicely underneath one of the straps. Maybe not so much on this side, but one of the straps, it's hidden right underneath the strap of the holster, which is nice. It's got your double hinge on the knee, and of course for your feet hinge back and forth. They hinge back and forth that way, and you can also rotate the feet all the way around. Netflix's Daredevil is a figure I really want to like, and for the most part I do. Everything about the figure does things well, except for the head. I find that the head is a little too on the swollen side, it's a little too fat for how I would have wanted to see Daredevil presented here. He doesn't come with a whole ton of accessories, but he comes with the accessories one would expect to find with a Daredevil. And for the most part, walking away from this review, I'm generally happy with how the figure turned out, except for the fact, once again, I find that the head is just a little too swollen for my liking. It's still going to make for a very hard decision to come up with my top 3 favorite figures from this line, because as a whole, all the figures have done things quite well. A few little hiccups here and there, but for the most part, I find myself now trying to struggle to come up with the top 3, which is something I don't generally seem to struggle as much when it comes to other Marvel Legends wave. This has been a really great Marvel Legends lineup, and especially the icing on the cake is an equally cool Man-Thing that I'm looking forward to reviewing as well. Either way, if you guys are interested in picking this up for yourself, you can head over to Big Bad Toy Store right now, as this is currently in stock, not only Daredevil, but the rest of the figures from the Man-Thing wave. I'll put the link also down below, so if you guys are interested in heading over there and picking this up for yourself. Speaking of down below, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe to this channel, hit that little subscribe button down below, and you won't miss a beat when it comes to future videos. As always, guys, thanks for watching as you always do. I'll see you next time.